I thought I had it all. 7 years of marriage to Sophia, the beautiful marketing manager I met at a tech expo. Our suburban home was going to be where we raised our children. I trusted her completely until I found those messages. 6 months she had been seeing her colleague behind my back. That is when I made my decision. I would disappear from her life without a word. I never expected the meltdown that followed, or that everyone would blame me for it. Let me know where you are watching from, and hit that like and subscribe button to find out how I executed my plan and whether I made the right call. Marriage to Sophia had been everything I dreamed of. I worked as a software engineer at a major tech company while she climbed the corporate ladder in marketing. We met at a technology exhibition where her company had a booth across from mine. I still remember how she confidently approached me, asking detailed questions about our product that impressed me immediately. After exchanging business cards that neither of us used professionally, we had our first date the following weekend. 2 years of dating later, I proposed during a vacation to Lake Tahoe, and we were married 6 months after that. We bought a beautiful house in an upscale suburb with enough rooms for the children we planned to have in the next few years. Our life looked perfect from every angle. We traveled to a new destination. Each anniversary spent cozy evenings cooking together, and had an amazing group of mutual friends who always commented on how perfect we were together. I completely trusted Sophia. Never once did I check her phone or question her whereabouts. Our relationship was built on mutual respect and honesty, or so I thought. The first signs appeared so gradually that I dismissed them. Sophia started working later hours, often not coming home until after 8 or 9 in the evening. Business trips became more frequent, sometimes twice a month. At first, I was supportive. Her career was important to her, and I wanted her to succeed. Then I noticed the small changes in her behavior around her phone. She was constantly checking it, even during our date nights. She set a new lock code that she never shared with me, unlike before when we knew each other's passwords. Notification sounds were turned off, and she would place her phone face down whenever she was near me. Sometimes she would take calls in another room, speaking in hushed tones. Along with these phone habits came a sudden interest in her appearance. Sophia had always been stylish, but now she was buying new outfits weekly, spending hours at the gym and purchasing expensive lingerie that I never saw her wear. Her hair appointments became more frequent, and she started wearing perfume I had not bought her. I felt the distance growing between us, but convinced myself it was just work stress. Maybe her new position came with more pressure than she was letting on. Instead of questioning her, I tried to be more supportive. I took over more household chores, cooked her favorite meals, and planned romantic weekends to help her relax. Each time I suggested a getaway, Sophia had an excuse, a deadline, a presentation, a client meeting that could not be rescheduled. When I persisted, she would become irritable, accusing me of not understanding her work obligations. The first concrete suspicion came when Sophia was taking a shower one evening. Her phone lit up on the counter with a message preview from someone saved as James W. The text read, "Cannot wait for our secret meeting tomorrow. Missing you already." My stomach dropped. I considered checking the rest of their conversation but decided against it. There could be an innocent explanation, I told myself. Perhaps a surprise work project or a gift she was planning. That night I tried to talk to Sophia about us. I mentioned feeling disconnected and asked if everything was okay between us. Her reaction was immediate and defensive. She accused me of being controlling and paranoid. When I calmly mentioned noticing she seemed distracted, lately she exploded. "I need my own space, Andre. Not everyone needs to share every detail of their life with their spouse. I thought you trusted me." Her words stung, but I still could not bring myself to mention the text message. Instead, I apologized and promised to give her the space she needed. That night, she slept as far away from me as our king-sized bed allowed, and I lay awake wondering what had happened to us. The undeniable evidence arrived 3 weeks later. I was using our shared laptop to pay bills when an email notification appeared in the corner of the screen. The preview showed James Wilson as the sender, and the first line read, "Last night was amazing. I cannot stop thinking about how you..." My finger hovered over the notification. This was my chance to know for certain, but did I want to? With a deep breath, I clicked. The full email loaded and my world collapsed. Last night was amazing. I cannot stop thinking about how you felt in my arms. The way you whispered my name in that hotel room made me feel like the only man in the world. I know we have to be careful, but I cannot wait until Atlanta next week. 2 whole days together, without having to worry about Andre suspecting anything. I read it 3 times each word, cutting deeper. The email thread showed dozens of previous messages dating back over 5 months. Some contained explicit details of their encounters. Others discussed their feelings and future plans. I printed several of the most damning emails before closing everything, making sure to mark them as unread. Over the next week, I became a detective in my own marriage. I found credit card statements showing hotel charges in cities where Sophia claimed to be alone on business. Restaurant receipts for tables of 2 on evenings she told me she was working late. I placed a small camera in her car and captured conversations between her and James, discussing their relationship and laughing about how oblivious I was. Finally, I hired a private investigator to follow Sophia for 2 weeks. The report he delivered included photographs of Sophia and a tall, well-dressed man entering hotels, dining at romantic restaurants, and kissing in a parked car. James Wilson, her direct supervisor at work. The same man whose texts and emails I had discovered. The pain was unbearable. I could barely eat or sleep. My work performance suffered as I struggled to focus on anything besides the betrayal. 7 years of marriage and Sophia had been lying to my face for months. Every late night, every business trip, every irritated response to my questions all made sense now. I had been living with a stranger. My investigation continued, and I discovered Sophia kept an electronic diary on her laptop. It was password protected, but I knew most of her commonly used combinations. On my 3rd attempt, I was in. What I found destroyed any lingering hope that this was all a misunderstanding. Entry after entry detailed her affair with James. She wrote about how they first flirted at a company retreat, how their first kiss happened after a late meeting, and how they first slept together during a conference in Chicago. She compared us, writing that James was more attractive, more exciting, and more satisfying than me. She described their plans for the future, how they would be together officially, once she found the right time to leave me. The most painful entries were the ones where she described me. Andre is too nice, too predictable, too boring, she wrote. He trusts me completely, which makes everything so easy. Sometimes I feel guilty, but then I remember how alive James makes me feel compared to the routine of my marriage. I wanted to know exactly who I was dealing with, so I researched James Wilson. He was 42 years old, a marketing director and Sophia's direct boss. He had been married for 15 years and had 2 young children. This was not his first workplace relationship, I discovered. On anonymous employee forums, former colleagues from previous companies mentioned his reputation for pursuing female employees, particularly those who reported to him. I considered contacting his wife or reporting their relationship to the company's human resources department. Both would create immediate consequences for Sophia and James. But something held me back. I needed to understand the full extent of the situation before deciding how to proceed. Should I confront Sophia directly? Should I contact James and tell him to stay away from my wife? Every option seemed inadequate compared to the betrayal I had experienced. The final revelation came unexpectedly. I was working from home one day when Sophia thought I had left for the office. She was speaking to James on the phone in our bedroom with the door ajar. I stood silently in the hallway, listening to my wife discuss plans to leave me. I have already spoken with a lawyer, she said. They said I am entitled to half of everything, including the house. Andre paid most of the mortgage, but that does not matter in our state. I just need to find the right moment to tell him. James asked when she planned to file the papers. Soon she replied, I will explain that he was emotionally unavailable and neglectful. The lawyer said if I establish that narrative early, it works better in court. Once everything is finalized, we can be together officially. You promised you would leave Sarah by then. Right. James reassured her, and they continued discussing how to maximize what Sophia could take from our marriage. I recorded parts of the conversation on my phone, my hands shaking with anger and disbelief. Later that day, I checked our financial accounts and discovered Sophia had been steadily moving money from our joint savings into her private account. Small amounts each time, but totaling nearly $30,000 over the past few months. Money we had saved for our future children's education. That night, I lay awake, considering my options. I could confront Sophia, resulting in an ugly emotional scene that would resolve nothing. I could file for divorce immediately and prepare for the battle she was already planning. I could try to expose their affair to everyone we knew, to her company, to James's wife. Each option left me feeling empty. Then a different approach occurred to me. What if I simply disappeared from her life? No confrontation, no explanation, no chance for her to spin her narrative or manipulate me emotionally. Just complete silence. The next morning, I contacted a divorce attorney of my own. After explaining my situation and sharing the evidence I had collected, he advised me to document everything, secure my finances, and protect my assets before making any moves. If she is already planning to file, you need to be prepared, he warned. But your evidence of her affair and financial deception will be extremely valuable in negotiations. Over the next 3 weeks, I meticulously planned my exit. I transferred my portion of our savings to a new account at a different bank. I gathered all important documents, birth certificate, passport, financial records, and the evidence of Sophia's infidelity. I secured a rental apartment in another city, where my company had a satellite office. My manager approved my transfer request, assuming it was for career advancement, rather than personal reasons. I waited for the perfect moment. Sophia announced she would be attending a marketing conference in San Diego for the weekend. I knew from my surveillance that James would be there too, registered at the same hotel. This gave me a full 48 hours to execute my plan. The moment Sophia left for the airport, I sprang into action. I packed all my truly important possessions, family heirlooms, and sentimental items that could not be replaced. I left behind furniture, appliances, and anything we had purchased together. I made digital copies of all evidence of the affair, sending backups to my attorney, and a secure cloud storage. I changed my phone number, email addresses, and deleted all social media accounts. I set up mail forwarding to a post office box in my new city. I withdrew from our joint bank accounts, leaving half the money, but protecting my future income. I left instructions with my lawyer about how to proceed with divorce filings. I wrote letters to my parents and closest friends explaining that I was safe but needed space. I did not reveal my destination, but promised to contact them when I was ready. I asked them to respect my decision and not share any information with Sophia. Within 48 hours, I had completely vanished from Sophia's life. No note, no explanation, no way to contact me. I wanted her to feel the same shock and confusion that I had experienced upon discovering her betrayal. My only communication would come through attorneys. Sophia's reaction exceeded all expectations. According to friends who later contacted me, she returned from her weekend with James to find me gone. At first, she seemed more annoyed than concerned, assuming I was staying with a friend after an argument I had fabricated in her mind. She called my phone repeatedly, finding the number disconnected. She emailed with messages bouncing back. She checked social media, finding my accounts deactivated. As hours turned to days, her anxiety escalated. She called my workplace only to learn I had transferred to another office, with no forwarding information available. She contacted my friends, who truthfully said they did not know my location. She even drove to my parents' home 3 hours away, but they gently told her they had no information to share. Finally, Sophia filed a missing persons report with the local police. When they investigated and determined I had left voluntarily as an adult, taking my personal belongings and documents, they closed the case. This only increased her frustration. The final blow came when my attorney contacted her with divorce papers, citing irreconcilable differences and including a complete file of evidence documenting her affair with James. According to mutual friends, Sophia collapsed in her office when she realized I knew everything and had meticulously planned my exit. James quickly distanced himself from the situation. Fearing for his marriage and career, he told Sophia they needed to take a break. He was concerned the evidence might reach his wife or their company's human resources department. His promised future with Sophia evaporated the moment she became a liability rather than a secret thrill. Sophia's behavior became increasingly erratic. She sent hundreds of messages to my old email accounts and social media profiles. Some were pleading for another chance, others were angry accusations, and some contained threats about what would happen if I did not respond. All went unanswered, sent to digital addresses I no longer used. The pressure from others began almost immediately. Sophia's parents called my family, describing me as cruel and cowardly for leaving without facing the problems in our marriage. They conveniently ignored the fact that their daughter had been cheating for months and planning to blindside me with divorce papers. Our mutual friends largely sided with Sophia initially. They only heard her version of events, painting herself as the victim of a husband who mysteriously abandoned her without warning. How could Andre just disappear like that? It is so immature and hurtful. A real man would have confronted the issues in their marriage, they said, unaware of the complete picture. Sophia constructed a sympathetic narrative on social media, sharing her confusion and heartbreak over her husband, who vanished without explanation. She never mentioned James or her own betrayal. The comments filled with supportive messages condemning my actions and praising her strength. Some of my former colleagues heard rumors and made judgments without facts. I always thought Andre was more stable than that, they said, who just abandons their life overnight. A small number of my closest friends eventually learned portions of the truth through my attorney or family members. They reached out privately to offer support, understanding why I had chosen such a dramatic exit. Their loyalty meant everything during those difficult months. Throughout this storm of opinions and accusations, I maintained complete silence. I did not engage in the public battle for sympathy or attempt to defend my actions to those who had already judged me. The evidence would speak for itself in the legal proceedings. Sophia launched what amounted to a social media campaign about her missing husband gaining sympathy and attention from strangers online. She gave tearful interviews to local news outlets, carefully omitting any mention of infidelity or her relationship with James. I watched one such interview from my new apartment, feeling strangely detached from the woman crying on screen as though she were a stranger. The divorce proceedings moved forward with surprising efficiency. My attorney presented the evidence of Sophia's affair and financial deception, making it impossible for her to claim abandonment without cause. She could not paint me as the villain when faced with proof of her ongoing betrayal and plans to manipulate the divorce in her favor. Meanwhile, James faced his own reckoning. His wife discovered the affair through information that mysteriously reached her, though I had no involvement in that disclosure. She filed for divorce, threatening to use his pattern of workplace relationships in their custody battle. The company initiated an investigation into James and Sophia's relationship, concerned about the power dynamics between a supervisor and his direct report. James received a demotion and transfer to a different department. Sophia, unable to handle the scrutiny and office gossip, eventually resigned. The final divorce settlement was far more equitable than what Sophia had planned for me. The judge considered all evidence, including her documented infidelity and attempts to hide assets. I retained ownership of most of my premarital property and investments. The house was sold with proceeds divided based on our respective contributions to the mortgage. By the time the divorce was finalized 6 months later, Sophia had lost me, James, her job, and much of her social standing. Her carefully constructed image had crumbled under the weight of truth. James returned to his wife, after a separation, begging forgiveness and promising therapy, leaving Sophia truly alone. For me, the victory felt hollow at first. Despite the justification for my actions, I struggled with deep grief and self-doubt. Had I missed warning signs earlier in our relationship, could I have prevented this outcome somehow? Was there something fundamentally flawed in me that drove Sophia to seek fulfillment elsewhere? I began weekly therapy sessions, working through these questions and the trauma of betrayal. My therapist helped me understand that while marriage involves two people, the decision to cheat is made by one person alone. Nothing I did or did not do justified Sophia's choices or her deliberate deception. I threw myself into my new position at work, earning recognition and eventually a promotion. I found a permanent apartment and slowly made it feel like home. I joined a local hiking group and made new friends who knew nothing of my past, allowing me to define myself beyond my failed marriage. The hardest part of healing was learning to trust again both others and myself. I had to forgive myself for not seeing the signs sooner, for being the trusting husband Sophia had taken advantage of. Over time, I came to view that trust as a strength rather than a weakness, a quality I would not let her betrayal destroy. Gradually, I reached a state of forgiveness towards Sophia, not for her benefit, but for my own peace. The anger and bitterness receded, replaced by a calm acceptance of what had happened and what I had learned. I no longer spent energy hating her, or James, instead focusing on building my new life. That new life has turned out better than I could have imagined during those dark days of discovery. I have a fulfilling career, genuine friendships, and a newfound appreciation for my own resilience. I have even started dating again, approaching relationships with careful optimism rather than paralyzing suspicion. Looking back on my decision to disappear from Sophia's life rather than confront her, I have no regrets. Sometimes silence is the most powerful response to betrayal. I chose to prioritize my dignity and mental health over giving Sophia the opportunity to manipulate the situation further. While others judged my approach as avoidant or harsh, they were not the ones who had to rebuild a life shattered by years of lies. The greatest lesson I learned was that true freedom comes from not needing approval or understanding from those who have betrayed you. By removing myself completely from Sophia's reach, I took back control of my story and my future. I did not need to justify my departure to someone who had already planned her own exit strategy at my expense. Today, I am at peace with my decision and its consequences. The pain has faded, leaving behind wisdom and strength I never knew I possessed. If my story resonates with you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice between confrontation and walking away? Did I make the right decision, or would you have handled things differently? Do not forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share with anyone who might be struggling with betrayal or difficult decisions in relationships. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply walk away. The right people will understand without explanation.